It's a film with three brains. 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 It's a film with three brains.
Oh my God, you guys are freaks.
As you no doubt heard, my exo has appendicitis. Your name was at the top of the list.
Well, that's good to know, sir.
It was a short list.
There's trouble in Russia. So they called us. And we're going over there and bringing the most lethal killing machine ever devised.
The last time we hit this state of emergency was 32 and a half years ago during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So this is what it's all about, gentlemen. It's what we trained for.
Submerge the ship.
Diving officer, submerge the ship, make your depth 150 feet.
On the 1MC. Dive.
This year,
We have a properly formatted emergency action message from National Command Authority.
what we've always known
Bravo. Echo. Charlie. Alpha.
becomes what we've always feared.
Gentlemen, this is the captain. Russian rebels have threatened to launch against our country and are fueling right now. This is not a drill.
Now,
Sir, we have a possibly submerged submarine.
You find out who that is.
Receiving emergency action message. Recommend alert 1.
the battle for survival begins.
That's a message fragment.
Sir, we don't know what this message means. Our target package could have changed.
I've made a decision.
There's no place for fear.
He's lost his nerve.
I'd rather go out myself than get this one wrong.
There's no room for mistakes.
If we launch and we're wrong, what's left of Russia is going to launch at us.
I'm captain of this boat. I don't have to think this over.
There's no time for doubt.
Missile systems ready to launch in 6 minutes.
You repeat this order or I'll find somebody who will.
Hell no, you won't, sir.
And nothing can stop the tide.
Sonar torpedoes in the water.
Right forward.
1,000 yards of closing dive. Make your depth 1,200 feet.
We cannot launch our missiles unless both you and I agree.
They're fueling our missiles.
He's right on top of us.
Please commando. Under arrest. Under charge of mutiny. Launcher ready.
Lock Captain Ramsey in his stateroom.
Fire one. Now. Give me the missile key, Mr. Hunter. Sir, we are going down. I'm the commander of this ship.
Crimson Tide.
God help you if you're wrong.
If I'm wrong, then we're at war. God help us all.
Hello and welcome to the Film with Three Brains. I am Sean in Chicago.
And this is Cohen in Maplewood, New Jersey.
Whatever. Yeah, it's Sam in San Francisco.
I love it. Curmudgeonly as ever. Or at least
Ray of
ostensibly.
sunshine.
You are. Don't let anyone know your secret, though. Sorry. We were going to talk about a movie called Crimson Tide, 1995, submarine action thriller drama. It is another Tony Scott movie. We've done two now, True Romance and this one. Let's see. It's got some heavy hitters in Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. And
Is that why you picked it?
that's the main reason, yeah. That's definitely why.
That Gene
like
Hackman?
Well, I mean, oh yeah, it is timely. Rest in peace, Gene. Sorry you're gone. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I did have a little like weekend or so of like looking through old Hackman movies and seeing which ones I hadn't seen. There's a lot of them I haven't seen.
He's in a lot of movies, yeah.
He's in a lot of movies and a lot of good ones, but yeah, I like this one because it really showcases the dialogue and the acting, which is kind of unusual for a thriller. But before we get into all of that, when have you guys seen this last?
Probably when it came out.
1995.
95?
Yeah. I kind of remember it because I was doing some studio sessions with Sterling Campbell. You know, he joined the B-52s after leaving Duran Duran.
Oh, of course.
And so we went and saw it in the theater.
Nice.
That's last I remember it.
I think we have a theme going here, huh? This is interesting.
What?
I like it.
I don't know where you guys were.
Backstage,
You were busy. That's
rolling
that
doobies.
weekend.
I don't know. Okay, so nobody's seen. Have you seen it at all since this is like your second viewing
Nope.
or what? Nothing.
I couldn't say. I gotta assume I have seen it since, but I don't recall when that might have been. And there wasn't anything. I mean, I remembered everything that happened, but I sort of I didn't remember the details, sort of the fine print. Like I didn't remember the ending being quite so like, oh well.
Yeah,
like, oops.
Yeah,
that's my only criticism of the movie. The very end was like, you were right, about the horses, and that was it. I was like, what? Well,
you guys are talking about like the denouement, the after.
Yeah.
That we get.
Yes.
They go to they see the, I don't know, Brigadier General Jason Robard, whoever.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be. So it was like a mini little review. Is that what you guys had a problem with, or was it? I was thinking about before that in the sub that kind of ending.
All of it.
You think all of it?
I thought there was a bit more. I thought the consequences were a bit more stark of it all, but I guess I didn't really remember well how it played out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's. I don't know if I was expecting more stuff to blow up. You only got one real naval battle happening. And, it honestly, it's not even like a top 3 submarine movie if we're being, historical about it. There's a lot of good ones. And even though they use the same gimbal for their control room that the Hunt for Red October used. The Hunt for Red October is just so much richer in terms of everything. I mean, I know it's the book mainly, but I feel like the weakest part of this movie is some of the plot points. Like the.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah. It is. It's simple.
It's like not a lot happens. Less than I remembered. I was like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
And like, there's a lot of tension, but it's all character based. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it's not all, but it's just Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. I mean, it's the highlight of the movie for sure.
Yeah, but to me, that's what showed. Like, you couldn't have it be Hunt for Red October because Hunt for Red October existed, and it's weird in my mind. These two were like released like a year or two apart. Like it doesn't. It seemed like this came out so soon after Hunt for Red October, even though it's 5 years.
Yeah.
To me, it didn't. I don't know. In my memory, it didn't feel like it. But they couldn't redo Hunt for Red October. And to me, this is more of like an old Alfred Hitchcock movie where it's, kind of like a play. Like Dialing for Murder. It happens all almost in one set, and it's people talking about what could happen and what did happen or what they're going to do. And that's what builds it up. So you need great acting and you need the stakes, but I don't know. I felt like it didn't need anything else because anything that made it look like there was more war going on just meant that Gene Hackman was right. And that was the whole thing is if there's no war going on and you have this order, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
This is true.
I felt like the last little, blurb that showed up right before the credits was like, and was the inspiration for the entire movie. Someone's like, oh, well, let's just explore what could have gone wrong if they'd never changed this.
Was that factual? It said 1996 was the last time that sub captains had control over nuclear missiles. Is that more or less accurate?
I don't know. Didn't get the interns on that.
Let's say yes.
Because that's the final thing is that they say, okay, well, thank God this can't happen anymore.
Right. This feels like a spiritual sequel to War Games a little bit. The way the way War Games opens.
Yeah. Well, I want to touch on that real quick before I do the synopsis, but they pitched it as. Well, they said it was like 2001 or like, what do they say? Hunt for Red October meets 2001 or something. But I was thinking a lot more about War Games because what they told the Navy was that they were making a movie about a computer that initiates World War III or can initiate World War III. And that's why they went along with it. Did you guys read that? I mean,
I didn't.
Like Tony Scott was really he was sneaky. I would say he was sneaky. I don't know if he meant it from the beginning, but they did a little tour of an actual ship, and they got this XO, and they based a lot of it on that guy. But what they told the Navy was, we're doing kind of the computer takes over thing. And so the Navy guys went along with it, and they're like, okay, we'll just make sure they don't actually think the computer could do this. That was their main concern. But then when the movie came out, it was like, no, this is nothing like what they were expecting. And they didn't like it. They disavowed the whole thing, which is why they're on a French battleship in the beginning, because they didn't want to use any U.S., they just had to kind of dance around it a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I was thinking about War Games too. So unless you have any other tidbits you want to start with, I'll throw the synopsis out real quick.
Yeah, do it.
All right. So it's post-Soviet Russia. Chechnya is got a new guy named Radchenko. Did you notice who Radchenko was, by the way? Mm-hmm. Did you know his name? I just know him from Kruger from Seinfeld.
Right, that's what I say. When he came out, I was like, "Hey, that's the guy from Seinfeld," but I don't remember the actor's name. He's in some other stuff too.
Yeah.
I don't remember what off the top of my head.
So yeah, he's a rogue ultra nationalist that is. They describe it as a civil war in Russia, but the Radchenko is taking over, and he's attacking various stuff. But the main thing is that he's getting closer and closer to launch codes. He has a nuclear site. I believe he has captured a nuclear site at the beginning of the movie. And then we cue the cavalry, which is Denzel, the XO of a new ship, and Gene Hackman is the captain. And so, he interviews, gets on board, blah, blah, blah. And then we, gradually see more and more conflict coming up between the two of them. They're butting heads on mostly minor things, like the way they treat the men. But it, gets more and more clear that they are at odds about their purpose, I guess. Like Gene Hackman is like, we're here to shoot these missiles in the air, and Denzel's like, we are here to make sure we don't shoot these missiles in the air. Mm-hmm. I think that's the gist of it. And then there's other characters that kind of have to choose sides. There's a quote unquote mutiny on board, and it's a lot of high drama. And like you said, it's sort of, I don't think it fizzles out, but it comes to a conclusion. The mission is over, and then we find out like the repercussions of it. But everything is, except for the intro and them getting on the boat, which is like they make a big production of. Everything else is on the submarine, which is of course called the USS Alabama, which Crimson Tide is, the nickname of the Alabama University, and obviously it's a pun, I guess.
Yeah,
it's a piece. I mean, I like it as a title.
Yeah,
it's
layered.
A little bit, yeah.
I guess.
Gotta have that. Get your script in the door.
Crimson's another color for red, so it's just throwing a shout out to Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anything else that's important to mention if you've never seen this movie?
Nah. That actor's name is Daniel von Bargen. I looked him up real quick because I know I've seen him stuff. I couldn't think of anything, but he's Super Troopers is the one that kind of sticks out after reading it. And Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? But he's in a ton of stuff.
Chief of Police and Super Troopers?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have we have the setup pretty much from the beginning. And it's nothing is too subtle. I mean, everything is kind of like loud and brash, and I think my least favorite, I think the dialogue is good, and I think we all know now that Quentin Tarantino was helping punch up dialogue, and I think that helped a lot. But my least favorite line is when they're recruiting WEPs, and they're trying to say what this Russian captain's going to do, and the Zimmer guy is like, you don't put on a condom unless you want to fuck, something like that. And I'm like, okay. And I think that really, did he need that is that really the best analogy?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just sounded funny to me.
Yeah, it was pretty silly. Indeed.
All right, so should we start picking it apart?
I have something good about it to say.
Cool.
So I found it was fun. I thought that they did a good job building tension and that keeping through given the otherwise lack of inaction. But the funnest thing to me that there's no way I picked up on it to such a level was both the differences, the old school, new school that they clearly had between Hackman and
Let's see. What is his name? Hunter?
What is
I mean, Denzel's name is Hunter, and Hackman
Hunter?
is
Yes.
Ramsey.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, between Ramsey and Hunter. So I love that they're coming. It's like two different generations. Like I feel like at this point in my career, it's really pertinent to witness the generational differences. I think when we first saw this being, when the young generation, we didn't have the same perspective. So I like that. That little thing. Then of course they throw it right in your face, the difference between people who have a ton of experience versus the people who have the credentials. I like that idea as well. And then of course the idea of, okay, if you're in this situation and there's a hierarchy, do you follow the hierarchy, or do you have, as a leader, do you allow discussion to not, to determine, like, okay, situations come up where the rules in the hierarchy aren't exactly, or maybe the rules aren't exactly clear. As part of the hierarchy, do you actually cultivate a discussion? So like there's all these things that are, I think, are really relevant to anyone who works in an environment where they have to work with a bunch of people. So I think they did a really good job of that. And it's the thing that maybe Gen X and the people a little bit older have seen is really the transformation of the way we grew up was, don't question your parents, just do what they say. And we know our parents grew up with that, like, even more, versus the generation today of kids growing up where everything's a discussion,
This is true.
So I felt like this movie hit on so many of these things, which there's no way it's by accident. And I felt that watching it now just made it so much more fun to see these things. You're like, okay, this guy, Ramsey's refusing to, take in new information to, because it will, he's made his decision. Mm-hmm. He's totally biased for it. And no subordinate's going to change his mind. He's not without a gun in hand. Yeah. So that was fun. I also, as far as, the workplace, and I think also more pertinent than ever when, Hunter's like, I think the men are, tense and need to relax.
On edge.
Yes, on edge. Yes. And Ramsey's response is like, fuck it, suck it up. If you don't like it, get off the boat now.
Yeah, get off the boat like they can.
Like 100 feet underwater, which is so great. Like, it's so perfect. It's like that's so like old school, and you see that all the time too. Like versus the other way around is for it is. So I don't know. I enjoyed it. I found myself chuckling at things that I'm sure they weren't initially meant to be chuckled at, but I felt like it delivered the whole way through it, creating these two characters and keeping them consistent to who they were and how that plays out in different decisions they make.
Do you think, since you have an interesting perspective and the operating room is not a democracy either, it's a hierarchy.
Right.
Is there anything that would be even close to that as far as having an XO that has to like agree with what you're doing?
Well, there are definitely situations, both obviously when you're in training, most of the people training do not question, like, someone who is, they're attending, who's, especially in an urgent situation. Like in a non-urgent situation, there's, a good teacher is always going to have time to teach. But, in certain situations you follow along. But I think it's changing. I think that, the things I wrote about in my book, I don't think pertain to a lot of the situations that people bump into now, because it's 20 years later.
Has it been 20 years? That's crazy.
Actually, no, it's been 24. So, yeah.
Do you want to plug your book real quick so people know what you're talking about?
Yeah, I want all of the millions of listeners want to read The Year They Tried to Kill Me.
I recommend it. It's good.
It is very good. I agree.
It is.
So anyway, but it's about that. It's about, the first year of surgical training coming out of medical school. And, at the time, the head surgeon of the hospital I was at was close to 80 years old. And he was, if I remember correctly, he had been in the military for a while. And he was just, my way or the highway. And, in hindsight, there are things that we did back then that we would no way ever do now. And, when you're so fresh, you don't quite know it. But then as you think back on it on the years, you're like, what in the world? Why did we choose to do that or not do that? You
just
didn't question it.
And changing procedures or, acceptable things. Like I saw on Reddit that someone was like, there's no way that Gandolfini would tell some private to drop and give him 20 on the
Oh, God, yeah, they would.
Well, I don't know. It seems like totally feasible. We all imagine drill sergeants, everyone's doing 20s and 40, 50 push-ups all the time. But they were like, no, I don't think that you can actually do that. Like you'd get reprimanded for that somehow, which is, again, like that. This movie is almost that old. And what year is this? What year
95. 95.
So what is that? 30 years?
30 years. So.
Yeah. So this is 30 years ago. So I guess it's possible that things have changed in the military, but we'd have to get someone in the military's perspective. Yeah, go ahead.
Hazing's not out of the picture. We haven't reviewed A Few Good Men yet, but that's the whole premise of the movie, and we know that it exists. We know, I don't know. I don't think that scudding people out and hazing people, all that's a foreign concept to someone who's 20, but it's definitely not a foreign concept to someone who's 60.
That's true. No, I like a lot of the points you made. I think that one of the things I like about it is how valid both of their perspectives seem, how good their arguments both are.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like there's no clear, I remember in the theater being like, get him Denzel, you really want him to win. But especially now I'm like, no, I don't know. I get what he's saying and I get what he's saying, but that's what's so interesting about it is like, it's not clear. Mm-hmm. How do you choose between an incomplete message and orders in hand? And then, we're all trying to follow some kind of protocol, but, not everybody's on the same page. Hence all the conflict.
I think, though, for this situation, if you take it the next step, there were a couple pieces of information. One was there are other subs and other nukes out there to be launched. So one, you are redundant. You are not the only.
Right.
So that's the first thing. The second is if those nukes have already been launched or are being launched, what difference does it make? You have time to go up to the surface and find out. You have time to fix your radio and find out, because
if they're launched, okay,
right? Because you can always launch later. Once the imminent threat of the other sub was gone, which it seemed that was one of the things that I would say was a flaw, that you lost the time pressure of being hunted down before you could launch your nukes.
Right. And it prevented them from surfacing to confirm the orders.
Right, but they kind of just dropped that. They just kind of forgot about it, and later they surfaced. If it would have been
Denzel was trying to surface to get new orders.
Right, but the thing is, for a tiny bit, there was this threat that we have to be super quiet and careful because there's an enemy sub out there that could blow us up if we try to surface and find out what's really going on. But once that threat went away, it's hard to rationalize staying down and not coming to the surface and find, especially since you can launch so quickly. You can be at 1 SQ and ready to go, that if you need to, you need to. But if you get to the surface and find out, like, hey, the U.S. already has launched 100 nuclear warheads, and so is Russia, you're like, okay, well, I guess we'll make it 105. Like, what's okay? Like, what's the big deal? So,
well, I
anyway,
think, just they had the continuing countdown, the 1 hour countdown to when the Russians would be
could launch.
So they're trying to beat that at least. Mm-hmm. So there is a time constraint in that regard. But I mean, it's also they're like, they sort of they disregard the length of time it takes their own missiles to reach their target. I don't know how far away they are. I guess they're supposed to be pretty close.
They're close. They're really close.
But still, like they're treating that countdown as if that's the that's the drop dead moment. But it seems like it would have to be a bit earlier than that.
Yeah, whatever time it takes for their missiles to hit the targets before they launch. Yeah, yes. I don't know about that.
But I thought Denzel's whole point was that it doesn't matter because even if we launch and blow up this, Russia's automatic counterstrike will happen, even from other bases.
Maybe it's hard to say because there was like a rebellion.
Yeah, but is the Russian president be like, hey, you blew up us with nuclear? Is that the assumption? That it would be like, oh, we understood that you used nukes on our land because of this rebellion, and we're okay with that? Or is there some automatic countermeasure that once ICBMs are in the air, the other one's going to launch ICBMs?
Murky.
Murky, yeah.
Yes, murky at best. All right.
I guess. What's not? So here, let me just slightly change the subject.
No.
Are submarines so big that you can stick to the catwalks so no one so no one sees you moving? Like, what? How big is this thing? Yeah. There's people going up and down and up and up and up and down and over. And I'm like, well, I've only been on one submarine my whole life. It was very small, parked next to the Intrepid in Manhattan. Oh. The aircraft carrier you can go on. It's a museum. And for a while they had a submarine, but it was very small, like probably the smallest submarine there is, because I had to like, and it was a straight shot, not very long. So I got to assume a naval nuclear sub is a bit bigger, but is it that big? Like Denzel Washington's running laps.
Well, that's or whatever. Because the Ohio class nuclear sub, which isn't that the the Ohio in Hunt for Red October? Anyway, the Ohio and the Columbia are both 560 feet long.
Okay.
So that's almost 2 football fields.
Yeah.
But you still have to include
that's pretty big.
The weapons bay.
But I guess if there are big ass airplanes that have multiple levels, I suppose a submarine could easily be the same, right?
Yeah.
I suppose.
The only mention is like in the end he's like, well, we'll use the crawl spaces, and then they're finally crawling.
Right. I'm like what?
Isn't it all crawl space?
Is it possible to move in a sub without someone seeing you? That was my question.
There's multiple floors. I mean, they used the crap out of that staircase in this movie.
I know, but I was wondering if that was real or if they just fudged it.
No. I'm looking at a drawing of the basic schematics of a ballistic sub.
Okay, so it is pretty good size.
Multi floors.
Okay. All right.
And the thing weighs 25,000 tons.
That's
or
crazy.
Displacement surface of 25,000 tons.
Speaking of which, I don't know if it's speaking of which or not actually, but one of the details I really enjoyed was Sean, I think you mentioned the gimbal earlier. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed it is when they were diving and like Denzel Washington's trying to get back to the con or whatever, and he's like, and he's, you know, like you can tell that it's,
yeah,
you know, and when they're diving, same thing, you know, like there was like a bit, and it was very subtle. It was pretty, you know, it wasn't, there was no attention drawn to it at all. It was just done well in that regard. I enjoyed that. I like that. The way they're constantly like helping themselves to get, because they're at such a pitch and shit or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
I dug it.
I wanted to mention this in the beginning and I forgot, but if you've never tuned in before, we obviously were Gen X folks, old folks, but we very recently, just last episode, have added, you know, we've become millennial. We went into 2000, 2001. So just so you're aware that this is kind of, I mean, we are, basically our show is, or whatever you call this, is like Gen X based, you know, like, so.
What? You're giving away our biases?
Well, I think they're pretty obvious, but.
Giving away our biases.
I mean, I'm
nice.
so youthful looking that they might have thought that they had like one, you know.
Yeah, but you've been on tour so many times, I think you're getting a little bedraggled.
They might have thought that you might have had one boomer on.
Yeah, I would have made, like I said, I should have said that at the beginning, just to introduce what we do. We never do that. You know that?
Oh, well. All right.
Yeah.
Our fans know.
For 5 minutes.
They know what's going on.
Our loyal fans know.
Exactly. Yeah, you listen to one oh, they saw Ferris Bueller's Day Off in the theater. Okay, they're freaking
old. Indeed.
Lot of double ups, or you know, at least a lot of people we've seen recently, like Steve Zahn.
Yeah.
You remember him? Even though that part is one of my least favorite parts of the whole movie, the way Steve Zahn goes out is pretty striking. Mm-hmm. He's like wrenching on that valve, and then
is he the one who gets hit in the face?
He gets hit in the face. And there's blood everywhere, blood in the water.
Yeah, it was good. And then was that Rick Schroeder?
That's Rick Schroeder.
Yeah, I saw him in the credits. I was like, what?
Yeah,
because I know he had a bit of his own reconnaissance when he was on NYPD Blue, but that was after this, right?
I think it's after.
So that would have been even a bit stranger seeing him in this. And then I saw Ryan Phillippe, and I was like, "Wait, was that Ryan Phillippe?"
Yeah, and he doesn't.
And then later I saw him again. I was like, "Oh yeah, that is him. I'm almost certain that's Ryan Phillippe."
Yeah, yeah, it's great. Like those cameos are. Well, yeah, Rick Schroeder, I think is he the one doing like this? He's got a fish tank in there, which someone pointed out. Like, how did you get an entire fish tank on a submarine? What the hell?
The fish are right there.
I guess. Oh, and that reminds me. Another question I have is like, can you smoke on a submarine? Is that cool?
Well, you can't bring a dog on a submarine either. I mean, that's ridiculous. But obviously, that points out that he follows the rules, but he also breaks rules. Hackman's character does what he wants. You know?
And they actually say there is a point early on where they say something about his dog. He takes it everywhere, and and the brass like lets him because whatever he's
not regulation.
He's a decorated, you know, whatever the hell.
Combat veteran.
Yeah. Also, if any of our fans out there have ever served in the military, particularly on a submarine, please write us at thefilmwith3brains@gmail.com and let us know. Answer all our questions.
That would be great. We'd really appreciate it. I think that we can pick out the obvious ones, like the bilge, like the whole. All right, let's just get this over with. So right after the big battle, which is exciting, and they you got him, sir, and they blows up, and they say, oh, we got one got away, and then they almost blow up, and then of course they have to do the we're sinking thing. We're gonna die in the bottom of the ocean. And if it was just that, I think that might be okay. But it's like that plus the propulsion. The propulsion's out, and then you get the thing like you're gonna close the hatch to save the ship. It's like it's just a little too, like those. They could have worked on that somehow, you know. Or
I was just like, Couldn't everyone just exhale it all at the same time and then fart, and then it would float back up?
And then fart. For sure. I don't know why they didn't think of that.
It's like, I thought that was like standard military training.
Is that what they mean? Like down bubble, no up bubble. We're gonna fart our way to the service.
It's EGF.
So you actually just reminded me
Wait,
of another question.
What was EGF?
Exhale group fart.
Exhale through fart.
Group fart.
In through your mouth, out through your butt. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
I know. I took that yoga class once.
Sorry.
I had a question. So Sam, you probably know this because
I don't know anything.
You scuba dive. You're a certified scuba diver and scuba dived all over the place.
Yep.
So pressure, I find confusing. Pressurization and all of that, I find very confusing. So like when they surface that quickly, is that an issue? Is that a problem? When they're like, or when they dive that fast? Either way, like going up and down quickly, isn't that a problem?
Nope.
No.
Sorry, my mic's stand is falling apart.
Well, we noticed something.
Because the inside of the sub is pressurized.
No, I know, but isn't that still?
Shouldn't they feel it still?
I thought that was still could be an issue if.
It's just like the airplane, right?
Yeah,
the airplane can go up and down pretty quick.
Yeah, that's true. I was just thinking about something about the abyss.
But they have to blow their tanks.
Everything I know is just from movies, apparently, from our youth.
The Abyss or Leviathan.
Yeah, like in the Abyss, Michael Biehn gets all fucked up, and they say it because of the. Wasn't it something to do with the pressure?
The bends, yeah.
But
Michael Biehn, he goes crazy.
He's in a pressurized, contained vehicle structure, whatever. So I find it a little confusing.
It is confusing.
But I guess it's not a thing. It doesn't matter. The sub's pressurized, so they're all good. They can just go up and down it. And like when do people have to spend a week in a decompression chamber? Like what the fuck is that about?
Diving.
That's diving.
That's
so
diving.
It's just from diving. That's not from being.
Yeah, that's when you get nitrogen in your blood and you get the bends. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to be pressurized it doesn't have to be pressurized to 1 atmosphere. It doesn't have to,
Oh, really? That's weird.
A plane's not pressurized to the same pressure as sea level. It just needs to be pressurized enough.
So this is the fun stuff you miss out if you're not watching on YouTube and you're just listening. You can't see
sucks.
him struggling with this microphone.
I'm like sweating here.
That's because you're wearing a wig.
That's not a wig. Don't give it away, man.
Give it away.
That's rock and roll. That's his real hair.
Yeah.
All right. Where were we? I was surprised. I was not surprised that a lot of people like this movie because I remember a lot of people seeing it when it came out. I'm surprised that. Well, what do you think would be higher, the audience or the critics?
I would guess audience.
You think you would go with that?
I would think that about all Tony Scott movies, though.
Right. I mean, he's a crowd pleaser. He's good at this action stuff. But no, it's actually the opposite. It's the critics. I don't know if you see that. Critics are 89 and audience is 84. I mean, it's same ballpark.
It's pretty high though for both.
It's pretty high for both. I thought it might be a little lower for critics.
All right. You know what though? I mean, honestly, I've never been a big Tony Scott fan. Like, I think his movies are, for the most part, pretty good. They're fine, but they're also a little repetitive, Like, his style is his style.
Yeah, well, you talked a lot about that during True Romance. Do you think that he does as much in this one, or does he tone it down a little bit?
I'd say he tones it down quite a bit.
I thought so.
And maybe it's just because they're stuck in a tube.
Well, there's a lot of less shaky camera.
Yeah, there's a lot less of that,
pan.
except for when torpedoes are exploding, and then that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting that Denzel Washington made 5 movies with Tony Scott.
I know.
This one being the first.
This is definitely the best, by the way.
Man on Fire.
I don't know. I like Deja Vu a lot, actually.
I like that one
I never
too.
saw Deja Vu.
I really enjoyed it. I was surprised how much I liked it.
Yeah, I do.
And maybe part of it's having Val Kilmer in it, and I really like Val Kilmer, and he was actually up for this, wasn't he? Like,
how have I not seen this movie?
They didn't say who Val Kilmer would have been. I was guessing Weps, maybe the Viggo Mortensen, but they didn't say.
Would have been Iceman.
Yeah,
yeah.
Submarine, Sub-Zero, Iceman. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, James Gandolfini, just to keep going with the cast and stuff. We just saw him. He's doesn't have a lot to do but look menacing in this movie.
Yeah, yeah,
and
a little too much. It was just like he seemed cartoon. He seemed cartoonish, like a comic book villain. He's just like, yeah, fucking kill everybody. This is great. He's just like
he's ready to tear some heads off.
Yeah, he's like, let's just do it. Let's launch all the missiles and then go get some more and launch those too. And fuck you, Denzel. I'm gonna shoot you and enjoy it.
There is a director's cut or something with like about 7 more minutes. I don't see why you would need it, but I don't know if there was some more Tarantino dialogue that wasn't used. I think it's excuse me. I think it's pretty easy to figure out what dialogue he added, though.
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
The Silver Surfer stuff, that's got to be him.
Yeah.
That felt
Captain
a bit
Kirk
out of
stuff.
place. Yeah. And like all the horse shit, they're white. Oh, but they're born black. All that. Like, it all felt a little out of place to me. Like
that part really did.
It didn't seem necessary.
Did you guys read that Denzel had a little thing with Tarantino on set?
Yeah.
He's later apologized for it, and he respects Tarantino as a good artist. But yeah, at the time he was like giving him the business about how much he uses the N-word in his movies, and which I've also noticed and commented on. But I mean, if it's Denzel, that's like you'd probably want to listen to what he says. But
sure.
But I don't think Tarantino did. I don't think he did what he normally does. I feel like it was mostly appropriate, but I think maybe the subtle. Well, I don't know. It was just interesting that Denzel has sort of moved on from that and buried the hatchet for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't hear about this. Was it just that Tarantino's not politically correct, or was there something?
No, I don't know the context of the conversation, and they were on set, probably between takes or something, and Denzel just talked to Tarantino about his movies and how he uses race and in particular, and I don't think Tarantino took it badly at all. I don't think it was like an argument. I think it was more like if Denzel comes up to you, and even at that time, I don't think Tarantino was like where he is now. Like he probably had to listen to him. Like,
I mean, in 1995, what he had, or even this would have been shot. That would have occurred probably maybe a year earlier, which is when Pulp Fiction came out in 94. Is that right?
Yep.
Right.
So he only had, as a writer-director, Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction under his belt, assuming Pulp Fiction, it probably already come out. He had written True Romance, and he had written Natural Born Killers, but did Natural Born Killers, the movie, come
later.
after this?
Yeah,
was
I think
it later?
It's 99-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, so Tarantino was like, sorry, you saying?
Still pretty new to the scene a bit. I mean, Pulp Fiction was nominated for Oscars. It was a huge deal, but still, I mean, it's Denzel Washington.
Well, the issue with what was going on with that line, I think particularly, is you already had an hour and a half of movie with great tension between the two main characters that you didn't need to punch down. You didn't need to do it.
Yeah.
And
honestly, it felt a little disingenuous.
Yeah.
When Gene Hackman said, they're white. It's like,
right.
It just seems a little out of character.
Yeah, especially because at the beginning he didn't matter. He's like, you came highly recommended, your short list, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Like you said
So
earlier, he hates the Harvard and the new young buck thing.
Like you already picked out what you hated about this guy. Mm-hmm. So, because that's easy. And that's an easy thing to do, right? As a writer, you'd be like, oh, well, that's just easy. man versus woman, black versus white, whatever, all these things. Well, what about just two people who are actually really good at their jobs, who are in this tough situation where you don't, because you're making, when you do that, if you're not okay with that, then you're like, you're undercutting what you might have believed in Hackman's character, right? If Hackman is just like, we're going by the rules, I'm doing this right, you're like, I can totally see, like he, but as soon as you add in the racist part, then you're like, okay, now you're a turd, like it doesn't, it sways the audience without it actually being the heart of what's in heart of the issue that should be, swaying you. Okay,
just so we're clear, I'm talking about a conversation they had on set that was more of a person to person in the business. No, I know. He was not saying on this movie.
Right. I know that.
No. Okay.
Agreed. But I'm just saying, like, how could he not be thinking it when this comes up? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I actually, in the casting, they were not even thinking of, I don't know if they had Hackman first or Denzel, but they had other ideas. Like Brad Pitt was mentioned. I can't remember, but it wasn't written as one white officer and one black officer. It was just two officers at odds. So I think when Denzel became available and it became an option, they may have tinted things a little differently. Like they're in the big build up. There's the one black officer that knows Denzel. As soon as he gets on the ship, he's like, "Hey, how's your wife?" And he's like, "Okay, yeah, good." Yeah. There's a quick look at. He's looking at everybody, especially Weps, Viggo Mortensen. He's like, "Oh, dude, you're supposed to be my homie," but then he's like, "Sorry, I didn't use the word homie," but but he looks at the black officer, and that guy looks away, and there's a hint of that as well. But it could have just been another guy. Like it was just one of the guys. He's looking at everybody like, "You betrayed me. You betrayed me. You betrayed me." Yeah. So they may have played it up because they were in that situation, but I still don't feel like the overriding issue is at all racial. Like you were saying, I think it is
no, agreed.
The intellectual,
which is why you don't need the racial thing at the end. You have everything else going for you. You don't need the racial thing.
I didn't take that as race. So what he says is, you were right and I was wrong. And we're all like, "Oh, that's weird. He just admitted that he was wrong." And then he's like, "No, about the horses. Yeah, they are from Spain, not Portugal, blah, blah, blah," which, it's
they're actually Slovenian.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
But the thing about they're white, but they're born black. Like, I don't know. Didn't really need any of that.
Well, that scene, they're sitting, you got 3 minutes, and they're sitting there staring at each other, waiting for, something to happen, the radio to get fixed. What else do you put in there? I don't know how you.
Right. How do you fill that time?
Yeah. How do you fill that space?
It's fine. They could talk about the horses.
Yeah.
Just not make it about black, white.
Just not yeah, exactly.
All right. And certainly in 2025, I think we are more sensitive to that, or more past that, I guess, than we were then. But
we still have Quentin Tarantino. He's gone back to the race card like a million times. As far as like having tension in his movies.
This is true. Yeah. All right. Where were we in terms of the movie? There's more I want to say, but I think the interesting thing I was saying about Tony Scott being kind of sneaky, when they went to Pearl Harbor, they wanted to get shots of an actual sub. They wanted to get the right kind of sub submerging, and they, like I said earlier, they didn't have any cooperation from the Navy. They're like, "Oh, you guys are making us look bad." Blah blah blah. He looked into like, is it illegal for me to film this sub? And apparently it's not. So he had, and it sounded like he had like an inside tip off that somebody was going to see. Some submarine was being put to sea, and he got the shot of. It happened. He just got he didn't care which one it was, but it happened to be the actual Alabama, and he got the shot of it submerging, and he used that. But I think it's interesting that he made The entire movie based on, the stuff in the ship, one little courtroom thing, some battleship thing in the beginning, and then that's pretty much it. Was all he had was like a shot of a sub, and he got a lot of mileage out of very little material.
Yeah.
I applaud him for that. But yeah, it's interesting that they they didn't like it. They probably still don't like it.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. Is Jerry Bruckheimer good or great?
As opposed to other producers?
Well,
Yeah.
I guess it depends on how you define that. I mean, he's got a lot. I mean, his movies have made a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
And for a while, I mean, the 90s were kind of his heyday. Him and Don Simpson were producing films in the 80s, but I feel like the 90s are really when, after Don Simpson passed away, I feel like that's when Jerry Bruckheimer somehow blossomed, I suppose, a little bit. I don't know, but I mean, I feel like there wasn't, until Joel Silver started produce, like, I feel like Jerry Bruckheimer produced every action movie made for like 20 years.
I will point out that Don Simpson is listed first.
Yeah.
Of Top Gun, The Rock, Beverly Hills Cop.
I think he always was, though. Wasn't he?
Oh, I don't know. He was more known than Bruckheimer at that time?
No, I don't know. I think he just, for whatever reason, he was always listed first. But I think they were always side by side. Because that's how, I don't know if you guys saw it in the opening credits, Denzel Washington, Gene Hackman, side by side.
I did see that.
There is no one above the line on that for those two. I don't know. I mean, Jerry Bruckheimer has some really great movies under his belt. He's got some dog shit under his belt, But I think his movies make money, so I guess it just depends on.
All right, you really waffled that answer. I gave you two choices and you couldn't pick one. You're like, C, both.
All right, good. I'll say good.
All right.
I'll say good. I won't say great.
All right.
I think in general, not that you asked me, but
I asked both of you.
Yeah, you did. I'm just teasing. The idea that we want to see these movies. How much can you actually blame the movie makers, and how much can you blame us? Like, we want this kind of movie. We like action. We like. I think this isn't even like, I wouldn't put this next to The Rock as far as the same kind of movie. Even though they are similar in style, similar producers, some people in it, both military, but The Rock is so not you-rah-rah. It's just like, it's so over the top.
Yeah.
It's so like macho. This is macho. There's no doubt about it. It's all men in this movie with the exception of a couple wives. But it doesn't feel as...
It has an air of authenticity about it that The Rock clearly does not. But, Jerry Bruckheimer produced Black Hawk Down, which is a fantastic movie. Beverly Hills Cop is
Tony's
a fantastic movie.
Maverick. Or Top Gun
Maverick,
I
Top
should
Gun
say.
2 in the first one. But Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, is fantastic. Like, he's got some really great movies under his belt. It's just, he also produced Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Armageddon.
Yeah. Well,
Con Air.
Can't touch that one.
Armageddon.
Con Air. He likes Con Air too.
Also, yes.
You're poking Cohen right where the soft spot right here.
I just think the thing that's interesting about him is he's made a lot of good action movies, and every now and then he makes one that's great.
Yeah.
And it's almost, I don't know if it's like by accident.
I think it is.
Or,
I do. I really do. Well, I mean, they can't. Well, look, you got something like Black Hawk Down. It's Ridley Scott. It's a fantastic cast. I mean, Ridley Scott is, in my mind, a far superior filmmaker to Tony Scott.
I would agree.
So, like, something like that on paper, you look at that and go, "Oh, well, this is going to be fucking great." There's no denying that. Meanwhile, he's producing all Michael Bay's films, and every one of them, you're like, well, it might be fun,
Michael
but
Bay.
it's not going to be. Let's just hope it's not a total turd,
Yeah.
All right. So you're saying it's really, he can pick out, it's going to be director dependent. He's
script
not
director.
alone.
And script dependent.
But Anyway,
yeah, I think that. Well, I didn't leave The Rock or Con Air or God knows what, thinking about things the way I did after this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what sets it apart from other action movies like that. Like there's something. I mean, we also said that that's kind of a flaw, I guess, that there's not enough bang at the end. There's not enough.
Yeah, I mean, you said it earlier that it kind of fizzled out at the end, and I agree with that 100%. Like it does kind of like the tension's there throughout, and then when you get to the climax, you're kind of like, oh, they're just going to sit there. They're just going to sit there and read a piece of paper.
Yeah, if you've never seen the movie, they get another emergency action message, and this one says, stand down, cancel the nukes.
I mean, if this were made today, if someone's like, I'm making Crimson Tide, this had never been made, I'm going to make it, what would happen is they would launch the missiles, right?
Yeah.
And there'd be like a recall code.
Right.
Or a disarm code or whatever. And so we'd have that tension of seeing the missiles flying through the air, seeing Moscow or wherever the hell they're shooting them at in the distance as it approaches. And they're like scrambling.
In The Rock, there you actually see the missiles flying.
Yeah, sure.
Or in Mission Impossible, like Ghost Protocol. There's
right. Exactly.
It hits the Prudential building or whatever.
And I'm not saying that's better, but I mean, maybe it is. For this kind of movie, it is more expected. And when this came out, it was probably fine, but maybe we're just sort of tainted by things that have come since. I don't know, but it did feel like it really did feel a little anticlimactic. Like I felt like there could have been a little bit something more. Mm-hmm.
I still liked it.
I didn't mind it. I guess it's just my biggest complaint about this whole movie or the ending anyway is how okay everyone is with it all. You know, even Jason Robards is like, well, you're both right, you're both wrong. So, you know, the old fucker gets to retire and you get to captain your own ship, you know? Like, there's no repercussions for any of it.
Well, that's what I mean. I said it wasn't
because there was a goddamn fucking mutiny on the U.S. Naval's nuclear sub. I gotta imagine that's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. If there's any truth to it all, that's a huge deal.
It seems like that would be maybe something. Court martials involved and major revamping sort of protocols. You know, I don't know, but it just seemed a little too.
Well, that's why they gave us those words at the end.
A little too zen, you know. Yeah, fuck. Boy, that was a bummer. Yeah. But we're good. Move on.
Well, I mean, I will counterpoint just with if you didn't have an ending like that, then you couldn't show that the real change is the way that Gene Hackman feels about Denzel. But Ramsey learns to respect Hunter enough to recommend him for his own captaincy.
They could have done that though. Anyway, you know, like
what do you mean?
He could have recommended him, and they could have denied it. That would have been interesting.
But I mean,
I'm just saying.
What I'm saying is the respect that he earns is the real change, the real storyline.
I suppose
whether or not
that's not very cinematic. It's a little bland.
But that's what I like
because
about
you could still do that and have something else a little more realistic, I suppose. A little more, a bit more sort of consequences for everything that had occurred prior to it.
Yeah.
It would have been great if they would have hugged and Hackman pinched his butt.
Or the dog bit him in the ankle.
Oh, that'd be even gooder. Yeah.
Well, we said...
You know what we're doing next?
Wait, real quick. We said that if you are in the military and you want to tell us all the screw-ups we're making or, you know, what's right and what's wrong, I will add on to that. If you are more of a millennial or younger person and you've ever seen this movie and you're like, yeah, that was dumb. That was a dumb ending. Or like you feel like it did leave it something short. I'd like to hear about that too, because
what if they just really liked it? Can't we hear about?
Oh, sure. If you want to just say, I really love this movie.
Hate, Sean.
I'm saying counterpoint. You know, I want a different perspective.
You want to hear from the haters. Hey, if there's some haters out there, dude, that's what we have you for.
All right, what are we doing next?
All right, since there's an untouched year, I couldn't resist.
Really? Is that 2000?
Yeah. It's got to be 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
And this will
pristine.
probably give it away to Sean. We'll try.
Oh, wait. Just out of curiosity, did you go back through
Yeah,
our
we've done all
previous
the other
200
years.
episodes to see
Oh, yeah,
make
we've
sure
done
we
them all.
touched
I
on
made
every
sure
year?
that a long time ago.
Are
Yeah,
you
of
just
course.
assuming that, or did you go look?
No, I did it a long
He
time
mentioned
ago.
this
Yes.
like 100 episodes ago.
There was
Oh,
like
okay.
100
Everything
Yeah,
but-
exactly. I was like, hey, we've only done one movie from like 76, so that's why I picked it,
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, I used to have a tally, and I'm sick of it because I can't count up to 200. Anyway, so 2000 we're picking from.
All right.
And this is a movie that Sean might guess right off of this clue. It's got a soundtrack I'd still listen to.
Wait a minute. Is 2000 Donnie Darko?
No. I knew that was what you would guess.
Is it High Fidelity?
Donnie Darko's 2001. Nope. High Fidelity's 90s.
That you still listen to?
You're along the right vein.
My brain's in two places now because I'm looking back at 77.
Oh, come on. You don't trust me?
Well, I'm just trying to, because on my list, we did 77, 76,
We've lost
75. All right,
Thank
sorry.
you for
2000.
recounting every...
I trust you. That's fine.
Sean. All right. We need another clue.
All right, it's got a skateboarder in it.
What?
A skateboarder turned actor. There you go.
Oh, is it Jason Lee?
Yeah.
Is it
Now you should get it.
Mallrats? Or is it, wait, no. Is it, what's the other one? What's the religious one?
Oh,
No.
Dogma? No.
Yeah, Dogma.
No, I am a golden god.
Oh, Almost Famous. I forgot he was in that.
Famous. Yeah. Okay.
I haven't seen it since it came out, since I saw it at the theater.
I don't think I have either.
Just really quickly because we forgot it. Hans Zimmer, I think, should get at least a third of the credit for how effective Crimson Tide is, because I think his music is pretty spot on.
Yeah, I
don't
would
know.
agree with that.
Just had to throw that in there. And he's done some other good movies, but I think this one's really
Yes, he has.
nails it.
Yeah, he did the super famous tune from True Romance, right? Is that Hans Zimmer?
Yeah, that's Zimmer, right? And I mean, he's done a ton of movies. I don't know,
Right.
but some of them really seem up his alley. And I think this kind of military stuff,
Yeah.
with the
I think
hymn,
you're right.
naval hymn, and all that, nails it.
Yeah.
So that is interesting that we are doing another music heavy movie.
It's on Paramount Plus.
Sweet.
Cool.
Yes.
Excellent.
Oh, hey, I also realized why you picked this movie.
Light on me.
Because you wanted to go from Sexiest Man Alive to Sexiest Man Alive.
But
Gonna have to help us out on that one. Denzel.
Denzel
Okay.
was Sexiest Man Alive.
Sure.
And the movie we did before was AI.
Oh, Jude Law.
oh,
Yes.
it wasn't Haley Joel Osment.
No, it was close that year. Yeah.
It was close.
We also never talked about Haley Joel Osment's comeback and how he's popping up again and
He is
interesting stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh yeah. There's a
Same
lot we didn't
heard.
talk about.
All
But
right.
what we did mention, is that this has been our best review so far.
Absolutely.
I loved it,
Yep.
especially the part
First
where
rate.
my mic stand broke.
That was
Yeah.
my
or
favorite
came
part.
loose.
That was
That was
wonderful.
awesome. Like that, I'll never forget it. All right, that's enough movie buff. I'm out.
Yeah. Next time it's Cameron Crowe.
Yeah.
Rock on.
Yeah, rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Oh, boy.
All right.
You just picked it so the wig makes sense. I mean, your hair, not your wig. It's not a wig. It's hair. It's real hair.
Dude.
He just
They don't
wants to tell a
ration
story
that
for the
movie.
road, since we're gonna, it's a road
Right.
Nobody.
tour movie.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well, cool. I look forward to it.
Me too.
Adios.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
It's FM with 3 brains.
Enjoy a Scooby snack or something.